It's very unique, like so many things here. It's very strict. You're not allowed to really get a license until you've completed a special course, and on average that kind of class costs about $3,000 and takes at least a few weeks, if not longer, to complete. There's a series of classes that are actually in a classroom where you learn things and study for the test, and then some time where you spend actually driving on a course, and then with an instructor in a car. So in that sense, if you've ever had a chance to take a class like that in the States, that part's very similar. Price is not similar, but the class's design itself is very similar. Like I said, there's a written exam and then a driving exam in the test when you try to get your license. The written exam is, I would say, a little harder than the one in the States, but not by a lot. You're not given the option to do it again right away. You have to wait and come back again at another time. But the driving test is certainly difficult, and the instructors purposefully try not to let you pass. Every time you take it, you have to pay a fee to be allowed to be on the track to take the test, and this is about like $20–25 to do this. And so it's kind of a known thing that a lot of times people will make you come back again and again repeatedly just to pay the fine, and to make you feel bad, because that seems to be what driver's license people like to do, is make people feel bad. But so you take the class, you practice in the test space where they have for driving, and then also drive out on the road. Now, the required level of driving is much higher than what's required in the States. You know, I know a lot of people are always worried, oh my God, am I going to have to parallel park? And sometimes you don't even have to worry about knowing how to do that. Here, you're taught how to do all of that, how to back up, how to get into super tiny spaces, all those kinds of things. It's much more strict. So you finish the long course and then you take the exam. And typically, kind of along the same lines as in the States, you get your first license for like 2 years, and then you renew for 3 or 5, and 3 years, I think. And then if you're super lucky and you don't have any accidents, you get what we call a gold license, and then you only have to come in every 5 years to renew. When you renew your license, you have to come in and watch a movie and waste 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back by watching a lame movie about stuff, and then you get to get everything renewed. It's kind of a pain, like, I don't know, it seems to be a global phenomenon maybe, that DMV offices are terribly retarded. And no offense to the people working there, I don't know, it's just the system, I think. I don't understand what it is, but there's definitely something wrong there. But I know, from my perspective, being a foreigner, I had my American driver's license, of course, and as long as you have an international driver's permit, you're allowed to drive with your American license in Japan. Now, long time ago, when I first moved here, the rules were that you were supposed to be your international driver's permit would last for a year, and then you just needed to go to the States and get a new one. And that's what I did every year, and I just kept going back and forth and keeping my American license because I wanted to be able to drive easily when I went home. So, but then they kind of switch things on you without telling you, and I don't know why they do that. I always wish that we were on some kind of email blast, all the foreigners in Japan get the same announcement at the same time, that the rules have changed. We didn't know the rules had changed, and the international driver's permit is still good for a year, but it's only valid if you spent 90 days or more in the States, which of course I don't do. I live here. So we didn't know that, and I got caught on a really small traffic violation for turning down a street that for a certain hour in the morning is one way because kids are going to school on that street. It was a trap. Lots of people were getting caught, and we were on our way to the airport to leave, and we got caught, and they took my license away and told me that I would be charged a $3,000 fine, and I wouldn't be able to drive for a year, and I'd have to get a real Japanese license after the year had passed. So at that point, after the year and the fine and all those things, I was able to try to get my Japanese license. And they have a nice kind of a trade-off kind of system set up that if you have an American license and you take it in, then you get a really condensed, simplified question test, which is just 10 questions, true or false, which isn't too hard. And then you still have to do the driving part, which they, again, purposefully make sure you don't pass the first time so that you have to come back. So you kind of pretty much have to get a perfect score to get it. I wound up having to take it 2 or 3 times, I think, until they gave me my license. They went really easy on me though, because I'm a true foreigner. And my husband's Japanese, but he had an American driver's license, and he tried to do the old switcheroo and avoid taking the $3,000 course that takes all those days and weeks of his time. You're allowed to do that if you're a Japanese and you've been in the States and you have a license from there, maybe from going to the university there and stuff. But they're super mean to Japanese people. They're like, oh, you're tricking the system, so we're going to trick you back. And he had to take the test 6, 7 times or something. I felt so bad for him. He was doing great, but I swear, just because he was Japanese, they didn't let him pass. So